With the 2026 NFL Draft looming, Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson enters a make-or-break game in a rematch versus Oklahoma.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's the director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with the LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. We got to preview the college football playoffs, starting with Bama versus OU. Those offensive prospects that you need to watch for the 2026 NFL Draft, the defensive prospects to watch. And then we're going to talk about the key matchups in this game, prospect versus prospect, that can determine the outcome. But before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Keith, I think it's, is it low-hanging fruit? Maybe. Ty Simpson. I think this is a make or break game for him, Keith, because the last month or so of the season has not been favorable to him. And I want to go back to the game he had against OU when they lost. It was a 3-point game and everything, and that he wasn't bad in that game. It was just the turnovers were ill-timed and they kind of piled up. I think he had 3 turnovers in that game. I think he had a strip sack. And he threw an interception. I think he had an interception and might have been 2 fumbles, but I think he had like 3 turnovers overall in this game. He threw for 319 yards in this game as well. So it's not like he was absolutely abysmal against that defense, but it was more so, hey, getting the ball out of your hand, making quick decisions. The strip sack when he was sacked, because I remember R. Mason Thomas was not healthy in that game. He had a quad injury. There's optimism he might play, but it's just uncertain right now. For Ty Simpson, man, Keith, it's just simple. Go out here and play well. Like, protect the football. I think Jam Miller, who I'll talk about in a minute, he practiced, so that could help if they can get some balance going, Keith. But I'm looking at Ty Simpson. Your NFL draft stock rests on this game. Because if you put up another subpar to bad performance, that'll be 5 games in a row that you basically have not looked like a guy that should be drafted in round 1.
Yeah, and I think if you have, because at that point, right, you get close to half the season, right? Well, people like, oh man, half of the season, you had a good half, and you had a bad half, right? Like very similar to what we always discussed with the Garrett Nussmeier conversation last year, right? Where we talked off, he started really hot, and then there was a point where things became very average for him, right? Mm-hmm. And I think Ty Simpson he's on the brink of hitting that threshold to where there's a conversation when we talk about first round quarterbacks. He went from being a first round lock, Heisman, number 1 overall pick, hitting a trifecta, right, to second round, maybe, right? Mm-hmm. Or does he even need to come back to school? So this is an important test, and it's an important test not only for that, but it's for those reasons, but it's an important test because this will be his second time seeing Oklahoma this year. And I think for NFL talent evaluators, when you have a limited amount of sample size of games, what they want to know is, can you improve, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, cool. We expect you to make mistakes as a rookie, right? Talking about a rookie in the NFL if we draft you in the first round, but will you get better the next year, right? Like, have you hit your ceiling, or was this a case of this is just your first time seeing this? And that's a very different conversation of first time seeing this versus I've hit my ceiling and I just have trouble with these. Like, I can't overcome this. So for Ty Simpson, I'm right there with you, DP. This is huge for him. And it may be, we talk about offensive prospects and key guys to watch, this whole breakdown thing. He may be the guy with the most to gain or lose in the entire matchup. I'm gonna go with their wide receiver, DP, Germie Bernard. And because he's been a guy that I liked and have not necessarily loved. Right. I think he's a good player, but we've talked about where I rank him as far as NFL wide receivers, where he will fall in. And for him, I think he's going to have a clutch factor and something that's going to be outside of athletic ability, like elite athletic talent to win and to get people to buy into too. Like, some guys we watch and we say, you know what, he just understands how to get open. For example, Jalen McMillan, that was last year's draft from Washington. And remember, I told him, like, DP, I really like this young man. Like, I don't, it's not 40 time. It's not any, the guy just understands how to get open. And he was injured for his rookie year, but he started his rookie year off hot. People were like, oh, this Jalen McMillan kid is pretty doggone good. And, and that's the feeling that I have to have with Germie Bernard. It's just like, you just understand the game at a high level. So I'm looking at Germie Bernard also as a player for this Alabama football team.
Yeah, I'm with you, Keith. Somebody I had jotted down.
Like, you can't be removed. Like, they can't put a number one corner on you and you just kind of they took you out the game plan. Like, that can't happen.
Got to get open. Got to get open, man. And again, we did the Watch the Tape Wednesday show last week, guys. We started this show off talking about Ty Simpson and what it looked like in that SEC championship game and why it wasn't all his fault. Guys got to get open, right? Like, he catches Germie Bernard catches the ball better than the rest of the guys. Ryan Williams doesn't catch the ball that well. Isaiah Horton had a clear drop, on a deep, I think, either comeback route or out route, stuff like that. Germie Bernard catches the ball, but the key is getting open against this secondary, and the secondary that in a defense, Brent Venables knows how to dial it up, man. So I hope to see, Germie Bernard and Ty Simpson. I think Ryan Grubbs, the OC, needs to call some quick hitting short routes to get this offense into rhythm. You know how they say in the West Coast offense, Keith, how the quick passing game or those Patriot teams where they didn't have a great run game, but it was the option routes, the dump offs, and that was the extension of the run. Bama needs to get some of that going early, establish that early in this game. Keith, I go to John Mateer, the quarterback for Oklahoma, just did his scouting report for Bleacher Report, Keith, and man, he's frustrating. I love him. I love watching him. He's so fun, but man, he does some things, and it's just like, John, what was that? Like, what are you doing here? And I think he's got all the talent in the world to be a first-round type of quarterback. I see shades of Baker Mayfield in him. In everything, Keith, but yeah, it needs to be controlled. The chaos that he brings and plays with between the lines, right? When the ball is snapped, it needs to be controlled. And I think in this game, I don't believe he was great. I think this was probably a couple games after his
he
returning from surgery.
In this game.
Like, and you go like he has, like, I think you talked about it a while, like maybe a month ago, 6'1", 224. Like, he hasn't been great. Like, he's got, like, since let's see he got hurt around like week 4 or 5, like 5, right? And since then he's thrown 7 interceptions since week 7. Since coming back, since he came back and played Texas, he has 7 interceptions to 6 passing touchdowns, right? Yeah. That's tough. That's a tough stat line, touchdown to interception ratio. You want to see him get better. And when you look at the last 4 games, yards per attempt, Keith, listen to this. 5.5 against Tennessee, 5.8 against Bama. Against Bama, he was 15 of 24, 62.5% completion percentage, 138 through the air, 5.8 yards per attempt. Missouri, 5.8 yards per attempt. Against LSU, he was more aggressive. He threw for 318 yards, 8.4 yards per attempt, but he threw 3 interceptions. So he got more aggressive, and then he turned the ball over more in that game too. So he's got he feels like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde right now. And I want to him to get that balance to being the good guy in this situation, right? Like, play well, protect the football, make the right reads. And again, he's very, like, he throws sidearm almost by default. And when you see him try to throw down the field, you don't, like, he needs to get a little bit more flexibility in the arm slot, because he can drop the arm angle even shorter for a sidearm throw to fit it past defenders. Can you raise it a little bit so we can get some arc and some touch on the deep ball? Like, he's been a poor deep ball thrower, like an inaccurate deep ball thrower. He's too streaky right now, Keith. And against Alabama secondary and defense, the defense played well. Look, they played well against Georgia's offense for the most part. Gunnar Stockton didn't light them up. John Mateer's got to figure out how to be consistent and get the ball to his playmakers.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm gonna wrap this up real quick with one other guy, Deion Burks, right? Has to play well. A wide receiver that we've liked a lot. A wide receiver we've even talked about having first round conversations as far as just from a talent and skill set. And we talk about
he's going to be a WTF guy, Keith, a watch the film guy. He's going to be a guy that you have to watch the film because the numbers aren't great.
100%. I like that you call it out. He's definitely going to be a WTF guy. And it's the skill set is there, guys. Like, we're not just pumping him up. Like, since he was at Wake Forest, this young man, very, very talented. So definitely check him out too, as far as a key player. And I'm wondering too, with this game, and it was a slow moving. Both quarterbacks played kind of bad last time they played. So I wonder if it's going to be an explosive play that changes the game. Is it going to be a wide receiver screen, a handoff, a bubble screen, something that Deion Burks can execute quickly? And even if they're going to game plan, I probably want to get him 12 to 15 touches. Like, you know what? We're in the playoffs. Tomorrow is not promised, right? Let's get our best player.
Him and Satenga need to dominate this game.
Yeah, they need to. They need to be able to take short handoffs, whatever it may be, and convert them to large chunk gains. DP, let's do this, man. Let's switch sides of the football. Let's talk about the defensive prospects to watch in this Alabama versus Oklahoma round 1 playoff matchup coming up next.
NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. And FanDuel lets you jump into the moment with like player props. Update says guys heat up, or talking about jumping into the moment. You can jump into the 2026 NFL draft right now as we head into draft season and bet on who will be the first overall pick. The odds favorite is Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman winner himself, quarterback from Indiana. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, go start today. Visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Defensive prospect to watch when OU faces Alabama this Friday in the start of the college football playoffs. Keith, I go to Deontae Lawson, the linebacker from Bama, and I think it's that chess match with John Mateer. And it's not just the checks and calls and stuff like that. It's more so because John Mateer runs the football. Like, if John Mateer embraces contact, he embraces physicality. Again, guys, he's listed at 6'1", 224, and he runs like he's 224, 225. He'll try and run through you. He's an agile runner as well, where he can jump cut, get outside, and get into open field, kind of like a pseudo running back at times. Deontae Lawson's ability to play the alley, spy him, keep him in the pocket, and then when he does mix, because they'll run mesh concepts, they'll run some OTBs and everything, some routes over the ball. Can you eliminate those quick hitting throws in the middle of the field? Can you chuck the receiver and throw them off their route on the mesh concept and make them have to hold the ball a little bit longer? So if you can take away those quick routes, maybe because I don't know me, I don't look at LT Overton as an edge. I think he's more of a 3-tech. Let him collapse that pocket. Let him play power against that offensive line, collapse the pocket, and get in the face of a John Mateer. You want John Mateer to either feel pressure or hear footsteps all game and just make him erratic. He's already streaky accuracy-wise. Start making him bail pockets. Start making him get happy feet in the pocket and take away the short intermediate stuff. Make him throw the ball down the field where he's not been great all season.
Yeah, no, I think that's a perfect way to go about it. And Deontae Lawson is a young man, DP, that I had a second-round grade on last year, right, before he got to the end of the year and towards ACL. And I still feel the same way. Like, I second-round grade potentially, if you really like, and I think because he's a young man that I recruited some at LSU, and if the character remains the same, I wouldn't be surprised if teams want to take a swing on him at the back end of the first round. Like, I think the young man completes and checks a lot of boxes. Defensive prospects, DP. I'm gonna go with LT Overton too. And you mentioned him in discussing scheme and things like that. He has to find a way to be impactful, right? Whatever his role is, he has to because this may be your last game, right? But in this game, you have to find a way to show NFL talent evaluators this is what I am, because I think up until this point, DP, and everybody loves a versatile player until you don't know where to put him, right? Like that's the thing, right? Everybody wants, oh, he's versatile. Okay, well, where is he going to play? Like, it's cool that you're versatile, but where are you going to play, right?
What's your actual position, bud?
Yeah, what's like, we have a scheme. Which one are you going to play? Like, what position do you play and play well? And I always say this, like every great athlete doesn't make a great football player. Like that's not how that goes, right? Every great football player makes a great football player. And I look at LT in this conversation of the edges in this class versus the interior defensive lineman. I mean, if I was him, I would probably lean towards, I'm kind of your hybrid defensive lineman, right? Put me at 3 tech. I could do a little 4-eye, things like that, just because this edge class is so loaded. But I do want to see him have a dominant impact on this football game.
No, 100%. He has to be. He has to make the impact. Because also, Oklahoma's not a great running team. They started to find some success. I think the running back's name Robinson. He's a little bit bigger, sturdy back. They start finding a way to get him downhill, and he's made some plays on the ground for them. But outside of that, like they don't run the ball that well. So being able to make them truly one-dimensional is going to be big. And LT Overton, to me, his calling card helps his floor in the NFL as a player. He's good against the run. So like be able to stop the run, put them in true drop back sets, and then can Bama's defense coordinator scheme some stuff up, scheme up some pressures, get into your Brent Venables bag, and start sending some guys from the second level to get after a John Mateer and make him think. There's a defensive he's a senior defensive tackle, I think, for Oklahoma, Gracen Halton, 6'2", 292. And he's a guy, I think he's second. He's either tied for second on the team in sacks right now with 5. He's got 19 pressures, 2 QB hits. He bats the ball down. He can collapse the pocket on true drop back sets. You know, Oklahoma loves those 290-pound defensive linemen, and that's their calling card. But I think for him, this is an opportunity. A guy that I think fans and teams should be watching, because he can get after the quarterback. Like that's what the key is. Like against Ty Simpson, and like I said, Jan Miller practiced this past Friday, just a couple days ago. So that's a good sign. He's able to go this Friday, great, right? Like he's able to. He missed the SEC championship game. He's had maybe 2 weeks or so to kind of get healthy and get back, feeling good. Being balanced is going to be key. But in case Jan Miller is not as effective as Bama needs him to be, and they back into that, we're one-dimensional again, look out for Gracen Halton, man. Look out for him to have a game. Number 56 on that defensive line for Oklahoma, rushing the passer, collapsing the pocket, and putting pressure on Ty Simpson. Because the key to if Ty Simpson was Superman, Keith, his kryptonite is interior pressure up the gut of the offensive line in the interior. When pressure's on the outside and you can't collapse the middle of the offensive line, he doesn't care about outside pressure. He steps up in the pocket. But when you can't step up and now you got to be a true athletic quarterback, you know what I mean, in terms of, hey, I got to spin out of here. I got to get out of here. I got to outrun edge guys. That's when he gets into trouble, because he's not that guy. He's more of a straight line, get north and south quickly. I can pick up what I can pick up type of athlete. But I think Gracen Halton and being able to really collapse that pocket is going to make things a little bit difficult for him. And then Domani Jackson.
I was literally going to mention him. Yep.
Domani Jackson got to have a big game, man, because, again, Isaiah Satenga has been the guy this season for John Mateer. He plays mostly in the slot. So they get they get some level concepts. They get a rub route slant with him, one-on-one with the DB. They hit it, they clear it out, and then he gets to just kick it in the hyperdrive and take it distance. I think he did that to LSU or somebody else a couple times this year. Domani Jackson, when you are outside, like, shut down the outside to where if you're able to lock down the outside, you would think defensive coordinator-wise, Keith, you load up the middle and take away those type of routes from a Satenga and force John Mateer to throw to your big athletic corner and everything that is a Domani Jackson. And then you got Keon Sabb and those guys in the back end. You want to test the deep waters, take away the short intermediate stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. DP, let's do this, man. We kind of hinted at it already, but let's fully dive into it. And that's the key matchups, right? What matchups are going to determine this? Because there's a lot of 2026 NFL draft prospects on there. There's going to be prospect on prospect crime going on in this Alabama versus Oklahoma game. Let's talk about those matchups coming up next.
Ever feel like your money just disappears each month? It happens so fast. A few subscriptions here and impulse buy there, and suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers inside your head. Rocket Money helps you get clarity, track every dollar, and stay in control of your finances because managing your money shouldn't feel like a second full-time job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you so you can save more and stress less. Rocket Money finds subscriptions you forgot you were paying for and helps you clean them up quickly. Seeing all your spending on one dashboard makes it easier to understand where your money is going. You want to know where it's going? Rocket Money will help you with that. Take control of your finances and cancel your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on today. Again, rocketmoney.com, promo code /locked-on. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot, for being our everydayers and being part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in America, all because of you, our everydayers. Key matchups to watch that can dictate the decide this game, Keith, and you know you could speak to it. It's not easy beating a team twice in the same season, right? We talked about it. Virginia whooped Duke the first time they saw him.
Yep.
ACC championship game, Darian Mensah and Duke said, not so fast, our friends. We're walking out of here as ACC champions, right? It's not easy to do it. So it's not like, hey, yes, Bama struggled in that game offensively with some key components in that game versus OU. When you look at key matchups, prospect matchups to watch this game, what's one of the bigger ones to keep an eye on?
Yeah, so it's a wide receiver that we talked about. Well, two wide receivers. We talked about Deion Burks. We talked about Isaiah Satenga, right? I'm going to look at it from the perspective of the safeties, right? Talking about Keon Sabb and Bray Hubbard. I think that matchup, when you talk about the easy layups, that's been a staple in NFL and college offenses now, the slot fade, right? Which one of those safeties are going to be able to cover that if you get to the high red, you get to the 30, 35-yard line? What they're talking about, the alumni section, when you're supposed to take those shots, right? That's the shots territory right there. When you cross the 50 and you're sitting there right in the 40, 30 yards, you go take that shot to the end zone. So I'm looking at that matchup as far as the Oklahoma wide receivers versus these Alabama safeties, because if you're going three wide, you're going to put a safety in a complex situation. Let's see if these guys can turn and run vertical. But also, when we mentioned in the first segment and we talked about getting Deion Burks to football on these bubble screens, these handoffs, things like that, these safeties are going to have to run from depth, close well, and make the tackle. It's going to be very key in this game. So from a matchup perspective, I think that's going to be very key, is these Oklahoma wide receivers in space and these Alabama safeties having a tackle.
Absolutely. No, I'm glad you brought that up, because especially with Bray Hubbard, he likes to roam. You know what I mean? Like he likes to. They play him kind of sometimes a low hold defender. So
yeah, he's almost like an extra linebacker sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's probably where he's going to be probably best used as a prospect in the NFL, is that he go big nickel backer, big dime backer. He tackles well. He runs the alley, but it's getting a better athlete on the field than a pure linebacker for those passing situations where teams are in kind of that 11 personnel in the NFL. Keith, I go to the defensive backs and that matchup with the wide receivers for Bama, right? The last time they played, there was a corner, Eli, I think it's Eli Bowen, I think is the corner for OU. I think a young kid. He had an interception that game. You have I think it's Peyton Bowen. I'm pretty sure they might be brothers. I don't know if they're twins, but I think they're brothers. I got to make sure, guys, because people fact check me when I said Bo Jackson Jr. was Bo Jackson's son. I didn't fact check that, so my bad. But I just say, listen, I saw Bo Jackson Jr. I'm like, oh, all right, that makes sense. And I see him run the ball. I'm like, well, he's out here hooping all season. But nonetheless, the two Bowen, I won't say brothers, two Bowen kids for OU's secondary, big, especially Peyton, because Peyton is a playmaker. He's kind of similar to like the Xavier Watts and I forget the young man that they drafted from OU for the Falcons last year.
Billy Bowman.
Billy Bowman, like kind of in that same type of mold where it's like just playmaker. I can play on the top. I can rotate down, disguise things. I think that's going to be a big part of because they were able to. Ryan Williams, explosive, dynamic, athletic. I think after the catch, he can be absolutely special. Go to the SEC championship game where they gave him the quick passes. He was making dudes miss, freezing guys, stuff like that. It's like, can you just catch the ball? And you know what I mean? Like, but not only that, I don't think he's a route technician. So it's like, yeah, against this secondary, you're expecting to see Brent Venables use those simulated pressures, probably run some cover zero. If you get cover zero, your receivers got to get open.
Yeah, they got to win.
And against this secondary, they got to win. Against the secondary, you got to win. If not, you leaving your quarterback high and dry because he's about to get lit up by a free runner because your offensive line has struggled. That's a big reason why they need Jam Miller back too, Keith. They need to be able to run this ball. That's going to be a big key in this key matchup. Is Jam Miller is a solid running back prospect, right? Like, is he one of the best running backs in the country? No, but he totes the rock like Tiki Barber late in his career, keeps it high and tight, right? You're not knocking it out of his hands. He runs hard. He's got enough fluidity with his hips to, jump cut, get outside, make a guy miss here or there, and then finish runs. And then he's got good open field speed as well. They need him to be healthy in this game so they can be balanced, because if not, they're not going to have success against this defense. Not the success that they want to have to be able to rectify and get some payback. And I think it was, I don't know if you saw, it was a quote. I'm pretty sure it was, I can't remember which one of the Bama's players. There was a quote where they said they wanted this was revenge. Because I guess some of the OU players was talking some cold, hard trash when they faced them the first time. I think that game was at Alabama. This game is in Oklahoma, and it's a night game. Friday night, nobody got nothing to do. People already finished their Christmas shopping, right? Matter of fact, Oklahoma canceled or pushed back their school activities. So people don't got to test nothing before this. No, they're going to be drunk. The fans, they're going to be ready. They're going to be happy. They're going to be excited. They'll be loud. This going to be a big opportunity for a lot of players to take a step forward and give. Parker Brailsford is my last guy. Center. They got to handle these twists and stunts. They got to call out actions. They got to communicate well, because I promise you, Georgia exposed a lot on that offensive line in terms of making them think and passing stuff off. It was not happening, and they were letting guys scot-free in the backfield.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay in the trenches, DP, with this matchup. I'm going R. Mason Thomas versus Kadyn Proctor. This is gonna be huge, right? For both guys, because Kadyn Proctor has been a roller coaster where sometimes he's hit the threshold of this is what a top 15, top 20 pick should look like. And sometimes he's probably made NFL talent evaluators say, Evan Neal, right? Like, just like, to be honest with you, right? Like, kind of have that concern. And then for R. Mason Thomas, and I said it, right? Like, he does one thing really, really good, and that's rush the quarterback. And what you want to do is when you're matched up against a talent like a Kadyn Proctor or a big name like a Kadyn Proctor, if you're R. Mason Thomas, like, listen, y'all said this guy's going to be a first-round pick, right? He's supposed to be he's going to be considered one of the better offensive tackles in NFL. I can consistently beat him, right? So make a game-changing, impactful play to kind of shift it and flip it on his head to where you're saying, like, wait, should we be jumping R. Mason Thomas and putting him in a conversation with the David Baileys and the Romello Heights and the, just the rest of those pass rushers? Like, you want to start throwing your name in there as far as the DPR.
No, 100%. I know he's battled a quad injury, so he missed the first matchup against Bama and everything. And if he's healthy, he's ready to go, Keith. Like, he could be the game changer, X factor for this defense, because especially with those looks that Brent Venables will give you pre-snap, you get him matched up on the island one-on-one, whether it's against Proctor or even the right tackle. And now you allow R. Mason Thomas to get into his bag, speed, dip and bend, hyperactive guy, good hands. Yeah, and now you're pressuring from the interior with a Gracen Halton and a R. Mason Thomas off the edge. And you're expecting, now you're like, okay, Ty Simpson, we're closing the pocket entirely on you. And that goes back to what we said earlier. Receivers against their secondary, when you get one-on-one, win and catch the football. You can't do one of these. You got to do both. All right? You got to win and catch the football. Very, very excited for this game Friday night. I hope it's a good game. You know what I mean? And I hope Ty Simpson can play better. Hope the Bama offense can get their kinks out and play some sound football. It's just a lot of mistakes on their part right now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close, DP, just from the fact of these teams almost seem to have similar flaws, right? They're very identical from, you know, who they are as far as run game and weapons and things like that. So
they better figure it out, Keith, because you got Indiana the fall, like was it, I think New Year's Day. You got Indiana after Christmas break. Yeah, you better figure this offensive stuff out right now, because that Indiana defense and what they did to Ohio State, that's a much better offense than these two offenses. You better figure it out quickly.
Yep, they come into play. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all can talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Coming up on tomorrow's show, guys, we're going to preview Miami versus Texas A&M. That's the opening game on Saturday, a 12 noon Eastern time kickoff in the CFP. Will Miami be able to help the ACC out and get a dub over a powerhouse in the SEC? Carson Beck is a big-time player to watch, so we're going to talk about all that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.